XRP being added to the Bitwise 10 Crypto Index ETF on the New York Stock Exchange marks one of the clearest signs yet that institutional finance is finally opening its doors to long-standing utility-driven cryptocurrencies. We're talking about an asset launched back in 2012, at a time when there was no Ethereum, no Solana, and barely any mainstream crypto infrastructure. Yet XRP has survived regulatory storms, market cycles, and intense criticism, and still remains one of the top-ranked networks by market cap and daily transaction volume. Now, with Bitwise formally placing XRP inside its BITW ETF, it signals that the asset isn't just a survivor, it's a foundational player in crypto's long-term future. This moment matters because ETFs are where traditional capital begins paying attention, and XRP entering that space changes the conversation around what role it will play in global finance moving forward. To expand this, we need to understand what makes XRP different in the first place. While most modern crypto networks focus on smart contracts or NFTs, XRP was designed specifically for global value transfer, a digital asset meant to move money across borders faster and cheaper than traditional rails. Its average transaction confirmation time sits around 3 to 5 seconds, fees remain fractions of a cent, and the network has successfully processed tens of millions of ledgers without downtime. But the real curiosity comes when we ask, why did Bitwise choose this moment to add XRP to a regulated ETF? What changed in the last 2 years? And the answer lies in Ripple's regulatory clarity. Ever since Judge Annalisa Torres ruled in July 2023 that XRP itself is not a security, institutions have been reassessing the asset. What was once a question mark has turned into a green light.
Looking at the timeline makes the picture clearer. XRP started gaining early institutional traction back in 2017, when Ripple announced partnerships with major financial players like American Express and Santander. In 2018, the company launched early on-demand liquidity corridors, showing that cross-border payments could be executed in seconds rather than days. Then came the SEC lawsuit in December 2020, which paused U.S. institutional adoption for nearly 3 years. But after the 2023 ruling, Ripple accelerated again in 2024, expanding payment corridors in Asia and partnering with firms like Clear Junction and Tranglo to strengthen global settlement capabilities. These developments turned XRP from a speculative asset into a functional liquidity tool, something institutions care about deeply. Now add Bitwise into the equation. Bitwise is one of the most well-recognized crypto index fund managers in the United States, with assets under management exceeding $2 billion by mid-2024. Their flagship product, the Bitwise 10 Crypto Index ETF, BITW, is designed to represent the top crypto assets based on market relevance, liquidity, and long-term viability. For XRP to be included here tells us the asset has returned to institutional legitimacy. It also means millions of traditional investors, from retirement accounts to financial advisors to regulated portfolio managers, now have access to XRP exposure without ever touching a crypto exchange. And trust me, the moment an asset enters a regulated ETF, sentiment around it shifts dramatically. If you also think this isn't just a small update, but a sign of a bigger institutional wave forming, then go ahead and hit that like button, because it tells us you're paying attention to how finance is actually evolving, not just the hype.
When we look beyond the ETF itself, the larger market impact becomes even more interesting. XRP's market cap has consistently remained in the multi-billion-dollar range for years, even during periods of extreme uncertainty. In 2021, it reached nearly $80 billion at its peak. Even during the lawsuit, XRP often held a position within the top 10 cryptocurrencies by capitalization. That level of resilience is rare. It signals deep liquidity, strong holder confidence, and long-term interest from both retail and institutions. Now combine that with newfound ETF exposure and a rapidly growing real-world asset tokenization sector, something Ripple is heavily investing in through 2024-2025, and you start to see why Bitwise made the move when they did. The global financial system is shifting toward instant settlement, tokenized assets, and blockchain-based liquidity. Ripple is already involved in CBDC pilots, remittance operations, and institutional payment corridors. Solana, Ethereum, and other networks are also contributing to the tokenized future. But XRP plays a unique role as a pure settlement asset. That gives it a specific function that traditional institutions understand. The ETF recognition now puts XRP in the same conversation as Bitcoin and Ethereum for long-term, regulated crypto exposure. Looking forward, the key things we need to watch include ETF inflows, quarterly rebalancing, global payment volume on RippleNet, continued regulatory developments in the US, and tokenization growth across Asia and Europe. If these areas continue trending upward, XRP's inclusion in a major NYSE-listed ETF might be the first of several institutional doors opening.